I'll get you guys to just introduce yourself as well.
Do you want to intro the session and just start us, and then we'll introduce ourselves?
Oh yeah, so who we have is Brad and Robert Walk from, is it Mexit? Is that how you guys call it?
Mexit.
Mexit. And they're just gonna do some coaching sessions with the breakout rooms as well.
Okay, so I'm Brad Gollin. And we've developed a process and a system. Actually, it's a full framework and resource toolbox to help business owners and people advising them to be able to exit their businesses and maximize the value that they can realize when they are exiting their business. So I'm the BD and marketing guy, so I tend to talk too much. Robert is, and both of us are serial entrepreneurs. I'm on startup number 8 right now, working with a high-tech company startup and advising several others on the advisory board. And then the last 12 years, pretty much full-time, have been working with business owners as an executive team coach to help them transform their teams and grow their companies to the next level. Robert, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, Rob Welke. I was in business for 30 years, started 5 companies and sold 3. For the last 2 years, I've been working with smaller companies doing strategic planning, operational excellence, change management. And Brad and I came together about 1.5 years ago and started working on this framework that we've created, the Mexit framework, and realized that it's just an extension of what we've been doing for years, but it has a very specific spin to it that business owners can gain some real value out of.
Thanks, Robert. So we're going to go through these fairly quickly because what's unique about today, and this is pretty much standard for the type of workshops and programs that we run, is we call them network shops because you're going to spend as much time discussing the ideas that we're presenting with each other and kind of learning and sharing your own experiences and wisdom. And our philosophy is when you kind of pool a shared wisdom of everybody, then you learn so much more. So we're really looking forward to hearing from everyone in the conversations. Basically, the reason that we're presenting to you guys today is as a trusted advisor, and that's what I would say you are for your clients, particularly your business owner clients. Basically, to grow your own personal business, you can either go out and find more clients, or you can figure out ways to bring them more value-added services or more value-added support. And that's really what today is intended for, is to give you some more tools for your toolbox to be able to go have more discussions, and particularly for business owner clients and those who are getting ready, I would say, in the next 5 to 10 years to exit, to start having deeper conversations with them around that challenge. Robert, do you want to speak to this one?
Well, your clients have built successful businesses over the years, but one of the things that we have identified is that many business owners aren't really sure how to exit their business effectively. So what we've created around this is a conscious approach to maximizing the value of their exit in advance so that they can actually get the most they can out of the business.
Okay. So let's get started in a different way. So rather than you having to listen to us for a whole bunch, what we're going to do is going to break out into discussion groups. So we're going to set up 3 groups, and I'll facilitate one. Robert will facilitate one. Rebecca will cover one. And we're going to discuss this question. How many of your clients have mentioned this issue? And I'm curious, what we'd like to know is what have been their biggest concerns when you have these discussions? So let's kind of pool everyone's experience and knowledge together, and let's get a feel for kind of where things are at, how big a problem this is, and what's really kind of hanging them up. So we're going to break out right away. So you're going to get an invite into a group. Please accept the invite. And then for the facilitators, we're going to wait about 2 minutes because we want you to actually self-reflect a little bit before we start the conversation. So just like you to jot down a few of your notes. And one of the things that's handy is if you want to make it easier, if you're jotting down notes, you can throw them into the chat, and that way you'll have them there to trigger you when you have your turn. So we will be starting in just a couple of minutes to get your thoughts together, and then the facilitator will get everyone to kind of share. And then what we're going to produce out of this is after everyone's shared, we want to kind of figure out what's the pattern here. What are kind of the three biggest issues that you heard in the discussion, and then we're going to kind of pull back together. Okay. So we're about to jump into our breakouts.
Yeah, I'm sorry to just jump in and start talking, but I had a quick question.
Yep.
So it's kind of more of, I didn't catch the question that you were asking. I had gotten up to pick up my coffee and I didn't actually hear the question we're supposed to reflect on.
Actually, I'm going to type it into the chat.
Thank you.
Okay. So how many of your clients have mentioned this issue, and what have been their biggest concerns?
So what is the issue?
Oh, the issue is business owners who are anticipating wanting to sell or exit their businesses in the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, thank you.
So what I'd like to do before we get started is these small group discussions, I've turned off sharing so we can actually see each other. So if you want to turn on your camera and open up your mic, this is just going to be a chance for everyone to chat with each other.
Also an opportunity to see each other.
and to see each other. Actually, the missing of the human connection is, I think, the biggest challenge right now and what we're going through.
My issue is I'm still fairly new with IG and don't have business clients, and so this hasn't been an issue. So I am looking to others who have been around longer and learning from them. So I don't think I can contribute that much here, but.
Well, everyone gets to contribute. So in the discussion, you'll have lots of thoughts and ideas. Actually, Darcy, you're the first one I see with your mic turned on. So I'm going to start with you. Do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've come across a few clients that are sort of, if we call it, sort of on their way out when it comes to business. And one of the biggest things that I've come across is, I wish I thought of this sooner. I wish it wasn't just like, hey, I want to, retire or sell the business, exit, next year. It's like, I should have been lining things up 5 years ago and that sort of thing. And, I've been with IG for long enough now that, if there's, that potential coming down the road, that we try and get things in place, because some of this stuff takes time to implement. You don't just turn around and say, hey, sell my business and what can I get? How can I get the most for it, kind of thing.
So is that I'm going to just put this in notes. Is that kind of, from your perspective, the biggest issue you hear is, I wish I just got prepped a lot earlier.
Wish I'd started sooner. I mean, it's the same as individual retirement planning, right? I mean, it's like we don't just turn 65 and decide, hey, I'm going to retire next month. It's putting those pieces in place beforehand, kind of thing. And I think with business owners, it's no different. Of course, the biggest thing I see with a lot of business owners is this is their baby. This has been their baby for probably quite some time. And well, a lot of business owners think it's worth more than it is already. So they're thinking, what do you mean it's only worth this much? I worked my whole life to get it here, and it's not where they think it is, kind of thing. But for them to just give it up and let go of everything, and somebody else has got it now, is sometimes tough for them. Not from a financial standpoint, but from mentally, from a mental standpoint, kind of thing. So.
Excellent.
So it's a deeper issue than just how can I get the most money for it, So.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Alistair, do you want to go next?
Sure. So like Sandy, I'm also a bit of a newer advisor, but I have come across a business owner or two with the same desire. So there's actually a young guy I grew up with, and he developed an app and then sold it, and he's got about $20 million valuation on his share in this company. And he has no idea how to get it out of there without being taxed up the yin yang. He wants to start another project. Everything's stuck. It's private equity in this company that is not publicly traded, and he doesn't really know. So his smaller company was absorbed by this bigger company, and they gave him shares in the bigger company for his project. So he doesn't even know where to start. He doesn't know what to do. He's taking $100,000 a year salary, but he doesn't actually have any access to his own capital.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay. So just the basics of how to get out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he just has no clue what to do, where to start, who to talk to. Yeah, it's not easy. Not as straightforward as it might seem.
Cool. Mitch, do you want to turn on your mic and maybe your camera and go next?
Sure. Yeah, you bet. I just flicked on my camera there a couple minutes ago, and I lost all kind of connection. The whole, most of what Darcy had said was kind of scrambled. I did get some good points there. So since turning the mic, or pardon me, the camera back off, the
camera's eating up all your bandwidth. So
I think
no problem.
we've got a busy house today, so a couple others on calls and whatnot. So a little bit different for me, as I'm an associate in a practice. So what we've done is we've kind of segmented our practice. So our lead consultant will deal with a lot of our business owners, especially those looking to get out or transition into retirement. I guess my experience would be from kind of warm market business owners, getting their thoughts and really just venting and concerning or their concerns. So around the dinner table or around the campfire in the backyard or whatever. So it's kind of, or my experience is a little bit to both Darcy and Alistair's point there. And, it is their baby. And then I guess to Alistair's, how do I get out? And it seems wherever they turn, they don't get the answers that they're looking for. And they're reaching out to multiple sources and they just want a clear cut plan. This is exactly step by step on how to, maximize what they essentially get for it. So I think that there's a big gap in how to get out, how to do it efficiently, and also how to the mental barrier of letting go of that baby that they've built for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. No, excellent points. Let's keep going. Ranesh?
Oh, yes, my name is Shiv Rana. I'm a new consultant, a new advisor. I have a very, my previous role as a tax consultant, accountant, I met quite a lot of people they have their own businesses. And when I discussed with them their tax strategy in state as well as a legacy they left for their next generation, it is very difficult for them to make a decision like when they are going to exit the business. Everybody in especially in my community, they want to hand over their business to the next generation. And when we discuss with them all the state planning and all the issues and how the tax system work and how the tax system does not work if they are not make a planning right now. So I find them, they become very uncomfortable. They think that it is as easy to just hand over their business to the next generation. When I discuss with them about their taxes, about their state planning, uh, I don't know, maybe this is a mentality. They become very uncomfortable, especially when we discuss with them if there is any situation when there is a plan for business exit, because they work hard, very hard to establish that business from scratch to up to that point. So I think it's an emotional issue also, but when I discuss with them about the taxation and about other things, um, at first meeting they are not easy to take up the advice, but eventually when you discuss with them step by step and how the Canadian tax system works, it's a very complicated tax system, especially in the state planning. uh, they understand eventually. That's my experience, about long experience working with them in taxation planning and accounting with my previous clients.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Who's Millie01? Okay. How about Mike?
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's Mike here. So somehow my video looks like it's not working. I keep refreshing, but unfortunately, maybe I'm just having a real virtual speaking here with you guys. Well, I'm fairly new with IG as well. It's been 2 months, and there's only one business owner I have a serious conversation with about. It's a young guy in mid-30s, and it's a real estate broker. So he's just recently bought a brokerage, and then have a lot of wishes, very ambitious, and trying to expand it to, at least a double of the size of the company in about a few years. And but I kind of figure out that he exhibit something called endowment bias. So like what you guys said, it's the baby. This business is in his blood, and try to talk about, okay, let's say 25 years or 30 years from now, you want to retire. So I realized that he never thought about that. So he worked like 16 hours a day and focusing on the business, and it is basically his life. And we have talked about, okay, so what's the exit strategy, like transitioning to your next generation, or you find a new buyer. And he kind of realized that finding a new buyer to take over a real estate brokerage is not easy as other businesses in the market. So but there's something that I try to move him from an emotional aspect back to a rational direction, that we actually need to think about that before that happens. I know it's far away from your retirement, it's 30 years from now, but instead of putting all your energy and capital into the business, we need to figure out a strategy that what was the best for you, estate planning, or in a tax efficient manner, that we can when this comes into real, so you don't stuck there. So but I'm looking forward to explore more, as I was trying to reach out to more people at this moment. But so far it has been my experience with the only business owner that I have.
Okay. No, that's excellent. We've only got 2 minutes more, so I need to get through because still want to hear from Robin. If Emilio is able to as well. And then I'm going to get somebody else to speak when we rejoin the group. So Robin, the question, how big an issue is this? Do you have many clients that have this issue, and what's the biggest concerns you've heard?
Sorry, I came in a little bit late. Sorry about
It's okay.
that.
So what we're talking about is business owner clients who are going to have to or are considering exiting their businesses within the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I suppose I don't have a ton of business owner clients, so but we do talk about it. The ones I do have are a little younger, so you know, we do talk about an exit strategy because I do feel like business owners just kind of get lost in their own business, and they forget about, you know, the long term, I guess, and they invest in their business and they forget to invest personally and things like that. So you know, I'd love to learn a little bit more about this because you know, I have a lot of questions too. I'm sure there's a lot of business owners that are struggling right now with what's going on in the world. You know, my brother's a business owner, for example. You know, I bet you his business was valued at somewhere around $1 million, and today it's not valued at anything, right? So I'm sure people are going through a ton of struggles right now with that, especially if they're close to retirement, because now they have to build their business up to the point where it's got some value again. So yeah, you know, I'm sure there's a ton of people that are having issues right now and probably want to sell, but you know, I'm more dealing with the younger guys, so I'm looking for opportunities for them. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for people to get into business, and that's probably what I'd be more interested in learning about. But I apologize for my lateness here. We had a bit of a crisis this morning, but
that's okay. Don't worry about it. We're gonna have to get going. Sandy, didn't really hear from you, but I need somebody to act as a spokesman because I'd just like a kind of a 30-second summary when we regroup from each group. So is anybody feeling brave and willing to kind of summarize the 3 biggest points you heard from our discussion?
Darcy.
You okay with that, Darcy?
Darcy.
Yeah, I can do that. That's fine.
Okay, excellent.
There, buddy.
So you've got a notice. We can leave and go back to the main group. And then Darcy, I'll get you to share from our group when it's our turn.
You're muted, Brad.
We need to get going. The clock's ticking. So Robert is, who's going to speak from your group?
I'll just do it.
Okay.
The 3 things that came up with what's going to happen after I sell the business or leave the business. What am I going to do with myself? The second one is tax. And the third one was succession. How do we get it right and who's going to do it?
Excellent. Rebecca, who's going to speak from your group?
Winder Gill.
Okay.
Alrighty. Are we going or?
Yep. Go ahead.
No.
What's your insights, Winder?
Yeah. So, Brad, what we've decided as a group, the 3 biggest issues we see is one is what's actually happening with the business. Is it going to get succeeded onto family, or is there going to be someone externally that's going to purchase this thing? So that was a big thing, not having direction or clarity there. We always find that finding out what the value of your business is always an interesting one, because obviously as a seller, we think the value is huge. And we don't know what the value really is until there's an actual buyer out there looking to pay for it. So that, and then another big one related to family is just estate equalization. We thought was our probably 3rd big one, is as some children work in the business and others don't, how do you make that estate fair between your families and avoid future family problems? So those are probably the big three, and then the normal stuff as far as you sell the assets to the shares. What do you kind of, how do you move along with that? What's the net dollars to your pocket? Things like that, which was fairly standard. But those other three were the big ones that we had.
Okay, thank you. Darcy, you're speaking for our group. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. So some of the stuff that we came up with, I think a lot of business owners are just head down in their business constantly and don't really think about an exit strategy. So by the time they poke their head up and say, "Hey, I'm done with this. I want out," well, they haven't really done any of the work along the way. So it came up that I think it's always important to have that that evaluation. I've talked with business owner clients as well that come to me and say, "Well, I kind of wish I started this sooner." I think it comes to a lot of our retirement planning is people are not just saying, "Hey, I want to stop doing this. I want to retire," and next month or later this week, later this year kind of thing. It's always going to be years and years in the planning. And then two other things as well that came up was I think it's called the endowment effect. Just the fact that a lot of business owners think their business is worth more than it actually is. You have to bring them back down and say, "Hey, maybe it's not worth as much as you think it is right now, but how can we maximize that?" And then the other thing that came up was, just the mental side of things too. These business owners have been in it, doing this is the only thing they've known for years and years. And to give that up and move along is more than just the financial discussion right now too. So.
Excellent. Good. Thank you very much. So I think based on the discussions, it sounds like we probably had similar discussions. Let's keep going. I want to get through these fairly early because I want to get to the next discussion. So when you think about it, all of you are, for your business owner clients, one of their advisory team. And the good news is that smart business people should have an entire team. They shouldn't be depending on just any one person to be the source of all wisdom in this issue for them. So accountants, lawyers, tax specialists, financial advisor, they may or may not engage a business broker. There may be key employees they bring into this, but what we're presenting today is the idea of a Mexit advisor. If you really want to make, as you'd commented, a lot of them wish they would have started earlier in preparing for their exit. And actually on every startup board I sit on, one of the things I insist that the founders do is, what's the end game? What do you want out of this? What's, having an exit plan, because for most of us who have run businesses know, while you're running the business, basically you're making a salary, and your big payout as a business owner comes when you sell the business. But it only comes if you plan for it. And if you want to maximize the value, because as you said, it's usually worth a lot less than they think it's worth. Well, if you want it to be worth what you think it's worth, then you really have to, in advance, well in advance, do the things that are necessary so other people can look at it and think it's worth what you think as well. And that's really the Mexit process we've developed. And what we're going to quickly show to you today is really the things they need to do in advance of the deal to make it so it's worth their while and they get what they're hoping for. So it's about empowering them to have the legacy they want. Extract the most conscious value when they exit their business. And it's all about helping them be for the deal, because when they get to the deal, it's too late to really change the value very much. It's pretty much crystallized at that point. And they're gonna have to deal with however the cards fall, which they'll have much less control over. So the idea of this is to prepare them, look at their options, ideally put them in a situation where they have multiple options and can choose what's best. Structuring the deal in advance, because for a lot of you, as you know, if you want to take advantage of your capital gains, then maybe you want to split out your share or your ownership into a holding group and then have your family as owners in the holding group so they can all take advantage of their capital gains. But if you're going to do that, they need to be holding them for at least 2 years in a CCPC. So it's not something you can just jump in today and say, oh, well, I can optimize. So there's got to be planning. And most business owners want the business to live past them. They want to see something in a legacy that kind of carries forward. So that's what we're talking about, is how to do this. With Investors Group, what we've been talking about is the next phase of this would be for those of you who have business owners to set up an Investors Group series of network shops where we can invite in business owners and just introduce them to these concepts. And you can participate as well, where we can kind of hear what their issues are and potentially even set up kind of peer support groups. Because one of the challenges for owners a lot of times is they don't have somebody to talk to, because most of them feel like they can't talk about this with their executive team because they don't want to sidetrack their businesses. They don't want this to get out of their clients and scare or confuse their clients' discussions about exiting. So quite often they feel really, really isolated. And so what we want to do is, if business owners are able to talk to other business owners, then they can understand each other's issues. And you know, there's a confidentiality aspect in the discussions too. But when we set up mastermind groups, having people that you know are committed to confidentiality and the other rules that we set up within these, it gives them a chance to really think out loud. And quite often, even in your discussions, that's really what they're doing with you quite often, is thinking out loud. Anyway, one of the things that if you haven't already done this with your owner clients is having a discussion around legacy. And we talk about legacy, it's a lot more than just how much money are you going to get from your business. It's about, you know, how much money are you going to get personally, but how are you going to be set up in terms of your family? How are you going to be set up in terms of your employees and your workers and your suppliers and your customers? What's the legacy to them? And your community? You know, a lot of the business owners we work with are in different communities outside of Edmonton, Calgary. And if they shut down, it could be devastating their communities. So really getting them to think about the legacy. And we have, like I said, a big toolbox. So a simple one-page questionnaire is a great way to facilitate this discussion with your clients. What is it, the legacy that you want? You know, you put your life into this. This is your baby. But, you know, what do you want in terms of a financial value? What do you want for your staff and your family and the community? So this is a discussion that is incredibly valuable for you to have with them, and just laying it on the table. One of the things I want to point out about this in terms of maximizing value is this isn't just for boomer clients who are at the age where they've got to get out. Every business should be designed such that it is operating as a high-performing team, as a high-performing financial and client stakeholder engagement, et cetera, operation. Because what's most attractive to buyers is a company that's operating great, that if I put in a bunch of money or took it over, I could probably grow it to that next level just by adding more gas in the tank. So even as startup companies, especially tech startups, you don't write a business plan without an exit plan. So all businesses really should be structured to be able to be successful, and that's what's going to make them most attractive. One of the first things you can do with your clients is create a sense of urgency, because a lot of them say they put off and wish they would have started earlier. If they knew the facts, they would start a lot earlier. And these facts are going to be worse in the next 10 years, because with 40% of business owners exiting in the next 5 to 10 years, the glut of businesses for sale is going to surpass the demand. So you know what happens when supply exceeds demand. We look at grinding down our prices, and 85 to 95% of most business owners' net worth is in their business. 2/3 of small, medium businesses don't sell, they just close down. and 80% of them that are put up for sale don't sell, which means quite often they're stuck with going to plan B, handing it to employees, handing it to key staff, to, you know, merging. Quite often when it doesn't sell, they didn't have a plan B and now they're scrambling. And again, like you said, to valuation, the data shows that that the average sales price is half of what they thought it was worth. Those are just the stats. That's just the data. So only 1 in 10 small, medium-sized companies cash out as they plan. 1 in 10. If they knew that that was the probability, and if they're not preparing, they're going to be one of the 9 of 10. And as an advisor, you don't want them going there. So really, there's, you know, we think this is a really complicated issue, but one of the things you can do to help them is to simplify it. Basically, they've only got a couple of options. They can either sell it externally, and it can be a private sale of equity. It can be a public sale, like an IPO. It can be a sale of assets. So you either sell it, you can sell it internally, a family transition, a management buyout, employee stock ownership. There's a few internal structures for that. A number of clients I have are in the engineering sector. And right now, the only people doing acquisitions are either acquiring very, very unique, specialized expertise in IP, or they're only looking at companies that are doing $25 to $100 million in revenue, which means for a lot of the companies I talk to, we got to put 3 or 4 of them together to even get on the radar to sell. So a 2-stage plan is another option, or you're looking at an orderly shutdown. So those are the options. And we talk about timing, and if they're not working to a plan right now, then they're behind. So around the Mexit model, there's really 3 phases in exiting your business. There's a phase, typically, at least we recommend 2 years before you want to start the transaction process. So at least 2 years before, we want to be working on building value in the business, entrenching it. Then we want to get into the transaction and structuring the transaction so that you're getting the most value out of it in terms of cash that you keep for your side of it. And typically a transaction takes anywhere from 9 to 12 months. You know, that is the average period to just get through the deal, to shop it, to find prospects, to negotiate data room, etc. And then quite often there's a transfer period. So the bigger the company, the more common I see this, where you can have anywhere from 1 to 3 years where they're going to want you to hang on, whether it's as a consultant or in some respect to hand on. So you're transferring relationships, you're transferring over any residual IP, all of that kind of stuff into the business. So that quite often there's going to be golden handcuffs. And so you should plan for them. So a great exit doesn't just happen. It's a conscious transformation. You really have to do it with intent. And so strategic goals, strategic planning, planned action, executed well, and having that discipline, following a process. And that's really what we show here is that we've developed as a process is how you maximize the value. So in this, the first stage is really coming up with a plan. And when we talk about plan, there's really 2 plans that owners need to come up with. The first plan they need to come up with is for themselves as an owner. Because quite often their exit is not something they can discuss with their staff. Because as I mentioned earlier, they don't want to damage their business by having everyone in the business deal with this issue. So it really is their issue. So what we find is typically you've got to make 2 plans, one for the owners and then a separate plan for the organization. Because what you want your leadership team to do is to basically get the company started in that growing to the next level. Because that's what's going to make your company the most attractive, is when it's showing a trend into growth again. That upward momentum and getting yourself out of the business so the business can function without you. If the business depends on you, it's not sellable. So you've got to start that transformation where the team can take out, and in the growth and organizational transformation work I've been doing, the key is the team can take the company to where no single owner can take the company in terms of growth. So you got to get it transferred over and empowered your team. So you need to figure out where you want to go for yourself. So this is about your own plan, but then you want to take the rest of the organization and get them to create an organization that's highly desirable for anybody to purchase. So what we present here is within this framework, there's two pieces. One, the why. And if you want to make your business desirable in the future, $36 trillion now today in private equity defines itself as conscious capital, conscious investment funds, ESG. Well, the term they're using is ESG. So they define themselves as ESG investment funds, as you guys are all familiar with. And that companies that speak that language, can tell that kind of story, are getting higher valuations and are much more desirable. So bringing in this kind of thinking and philosophy into your company before you sell is going to make it more sellable. But this is what you need to bring in, is this philosophy is being a key to how your leadership team is going to take that company to the next level. And when they understand that, and it's really a philosophy, it's a way of acting and behaving. And most small, medium owners I know have this philosophy. They want their business to be a force for good. They want to be good for their employees, for their customers, for their suppliers, for their communities, all their stakeholders. It's not just about profit. As a matter of fact, most business owners I know, they pay themselves last while they're looking after everyone else. So most business owners I know live this, but don't tell the story. So they need to be able to cascade through this so all of their people can tell the story, and it makes it more attractive. So then we take this and we use this to influence our strategic planning, organizational design, empowering people, building capacity and skills within the team, driving this through change management tools, and really transforming our culture to that next level. And when I talk about conscious business, ESG business, clients want it. This is a huge trend. ESG kind of suppliers, companies, workers want it. Young employees, you want to attract the best and brightest. They want to work for a company that does good. Society wants it. And as I said, investors want it. So the process follows kind of an agile strategic change model of getting the team to build a vision for taking the company to the next level, and then working with them through organizational development, those processes. And we go into what we call sprints and scrums. So every 90 days, we come up with what are the things we got to change in the next 90 days to move the company forward. And it's the team that develops those plans. So this is a process we do kind of on a 12-month cycle where the company can really start to drive change and start to build that growth curve that's going to make it very attractive to buy. So that's basically the framework. We're going to break out once more. We're running short on time, so this is only going to be a short breakout. But what I want to ask is, how much interest do you think your clients would have in this concept? And what do you think it would take to hook them to want to participate in this? So that's the question. If facilitators, if you can kind of copy that into the notes, and we are going to break into our groups again. Okay, I don't think we need a lot of time to prep. So Robin, do you want to start? Just what are your thoughts? How much interest do you think there'd be in kind of running a series or running some network shops for your owner clients to just have these discussions? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic for business owners to have a look at this. And I got a relative that's in this situation right now, I guess, and there was no thought towards this type of thing. So, like I said, they're struggling with selling their business, and so to have a plan in place makes a ton of sense for sure, and especially for the family too, because this business has been left behind. This is another situation that I've talked about, that it's been left behind to the kids, and they're just, they've got their own lives, and now they've got this business that they have to run for their mom and stuff like that. So it can be definitely frustrating. I've heard so many stories about these things that they just weren't set up properly. So 100%, I would love to learn more and bring my my COIs to the table, and bring some information to anybody that you can. I really feel like this is a big part of the business. I think it's not focused on enough to help people build wealth. We're kind of in the wealth sustainability business, I guess, or wealth protection after they build it. But I think as a business owner, I think it's important to help your clients create wealth as well, because we have the resources to get there. So yeah, 100%. I'd love to put together something for our clients, for sure.
Well, and as has been mentioned before, a lot of times their wealth, they've got wealth, but it's, a huge portion of it sitting still in their business or in shares they're holding, even from the sale.
Exactly.
Shares in a private company are not cash.
Exactly. I mean, I just talked to a young guy. He's 34. He owns a roofing company in Red Deer. Great guy. Obviously he's kind of done with his business too, and he's got no idea where he's going to go. He's basically paying himself the bare minimum, but he's got over $2 million in assets in commercial real estate and just fleet trucks and all kinds of things, but not a whole lot of liquidity there for him. So got a lot of relatives, I guess, that are business owners, but I had a relative that sold a business about 10 years ago and did extremely well, where his business partner decided to hold on to his business, and now they're struggling, right? In fact, they might even close their doors, and it's not the way you want to go out, that's for sure. So definitely have to have an exit strategy, and a good one.
Excellent. Thanks. Let's keep going. Darcy?
Well, I think the key part that you said before is, I think most business owners are interested here. It's a matter of, leaning on their trusted advisors, which are, either us or their accountants in most cases, sometimes both. I think the big key and the key takeaway that I'm going away with here, Brad, is the fact that we don't have to wait until, hey, I'd like to retire in the next 5 years. Let's look all the way along, right? So, I can think of clients that are, in their 30s still, that are enjoying what they're doing. They've got some decent revenue. They've got some assets, some value built up in their business. And they're thinking, hey, I like what I'm doing. I'm probably going to be doing it for a while still. What's the point? But the point is, like, hey, you just never know. And, I think that's the conversations there is, if you're a business owner, let's have these conversations, not if you're a business owner looking to leave in the next 5 years, So huge, and something I've never really thought of is like, hey, if you're a business owner, everything's going well, or at least that's what you think. Well, keep it going, and let's plan for way out here. But at the same time, you know, we don't wait till you're 60 years old to do any retirement planning. So why should it be any different for a business owner as well? So
Yep.
My 2 cents there anyways. So.
Well, and a friend of mine, and I've seen this numerous times, they had an offer to sell 10 years ago. And they didn't, they held off. And they sold 3 years ago for a third of the value that they would have got 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So every business, as far as I'm concerned, should be sale ready, because you never know when the opportunity is gonna land on your table.
Well, building on that too, Brad. So I have a client that like an IT company, and he got an offer to sell probably 2 years ago. I think he's 38 now, but he had some leverage there because he didn't want to sell. He says, you know, he came to me. He said, "Well, everybody's ready to sell if the price is right." So he had that as his sort of bargaining chip. Said, "Yeah, absolutely, I'll sell. Here's my price." And it didn't work out. They didn't want it, but he would have been set if they offered him that price. You just never know.
Yeah.
So at least he was sort of ready to go and ready to at least have that discussion, as opposed to, "No thanks, I'm only 38." You know. So.
Yep. Excellent. Okay, let's keep going. Siobhan? Okay, you're muted.
Is it okay now?
Yep,
all right.
We can hear you.
Good, good. Thank you. Sorry
I
about
have to make this tight and quick.
So, well, I'm totally agree with Robin when she said this will be a very big part of the business in future. And from now onward, especially me as an accountant coming to IG Wealth Management, and I'm a new consultant, for me, it is wonderful information, because from now on, I'm going to start with my client as an previously it was just tax strategy. I am not talking about their exist. You know, they my client, my community people. They run to the either to the lawyer to do their work, and even lawyer don't know how to do these things. You know, they are just doing their law point of view, but they don't know how to do the exit strategy. That's what we are supposed to do now, and I'm very excited. This is wonderful information for me, and like last time about I told you what happened. One of my client, very he's a friend of mine also. He had a business in Calgary, Northeast, and suddenly he died in a roadside accident. And after that, I come to know that he has no plan like what we are discussing here about his business exit, how to make the business sold out to somebody else. Family are not ready to take up the business. So it was total disaster. And I was only talking about him about my taxation purpose. I did his taxation. But now it is very important to talk about their legacy, about their business exit plan when they are alive, when they are you know, they should not wait for their death to, and then we can take over. No, it should be happen like you said about it takes a time about 2 years. You know, I'm very excited. I think this will be a very great information.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to have to close the rooms. I apologize. So Darcy, I'm going to ask if you can summarize again really quickly when we go back, and you can add a little your own color when we summarize. So sorry, gentlemen, we started about 10 minutes late, so we're going to have to make up for that now. Okay, so everyone's coming back from the rooms. Let's do just a really quick summary, and then we need to do a wrap up.
So from the people in my group, it was, they might be interested, but it's got to be positioned properly because many of them are too busy working in the business and don't even think about it. And then what we had in terms of the ideas to position it would be simplifying the process, giving them an understanding of what the impact of it could be if they don't do it right. And typically that's going to be a drip process with them, right? It's going to be a little bit of information here and there. And a big one that came up was adding this topic of discussion into their annual or semi-annual planning discussions, right? And bringing it up and helping them understand what the consequences of not preparing could be.
Yeah, excellent. Darcy, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So just briefly, I think the main thing that came up in our group is, well, the old Boy Scout saying, always be prepared. I think we don't have to wait till, 5 years out from retirement to go through and to have these conversations. I think we always need to be prepared regardless of how old the company is. Brad, I think you mentioned that even in startup, we're having these conversations. What are we going from here? And we had a couple examples of, either a business owner passing away and then they're left with disaster, or if offer to purchase comes and you're not ready, what happens? So just be prepared and to have these conversations regardless of where you are in the life cycle of the business. So.
Excellent, thanks. Rebecca?
Yeah, I'll just go here real quick, Brad. Our comments are just like yours, both other teams. What we thought would be good is if we positioned it in the sense that you don't know what you don't know. So if you want to come to a networking, a marketing, or this type of event, a peer network, and just understand, and Nico brought this up, he used to work in commercial lending, 4Ms, market, material management, and money. And if you kind of position it in, okay, do you understand your market? What are the materials required for your business? I think that's what it is, Nico. What does your management style look like? And is there enough money for buying and selling? If you kind of have it in those genres, I think that you can drive an attendance to a peer networking group.
Excellent, thank you. So in terms of next steps, so what we've got available is if you can talk to Rebecca, let her know your thoughts. But we have a partner program where we'll put on a series of pro bono network shops for your business owner clients. So what we do is we'd actually run it as discussion groups similarly, but we'd go through a series of discussions, an overview, and then one around each one of the stages of your exit to talk about those, the maximize value, transact for value, transfer value. And then the last network shop would be a sample mastermind workshop, which is structured such that you have a monthly meeting. It's the same people at each meeting. They're non-competing. They agree to terms, confidentiality, etc. And each owner has a turn to kind of share their issues, their company. They get to be kind of the feature, and then they get the collective intelligence of everyone else in the group to help them strategize and work on whatever is most critical to them. So that's kind of what's available. So we need you to have a chat with Rebecca and see what you think. So in terms of today, that's basically what we have to share. Some of these tools I think would be great content pieces just for you to have other value-added discussions. So if you want just a list of questions for what's your legacy, or if you want the sheet, which is how scary it is in terms of the facts of exiting and the statistics, this will be available to you as a presentation and support material. Rebecca, Robert, do you guys want to finish off?
Just thank you very much for everybody for attending. We appreciate the input and hope you found value in this.
Thanks, guys.
So that's it for today. If anyone wants more information, it's on the last slide. Did Rebecca jump off already?
Yes, you did.